Welcome to the lesson on return values in functions. Functions are one of the fundamental building blocks in Python programming, allowing you to encapsulate code into reusable segments. In this lesson, we will explore how to return values from functions, which is a crucial concept for making your programs more efficient and organized. By the end of this lesson, you will understand how to define functions that provide outputs and how to effectively use these return values in your programs. Don't worry if this feels new at first. This section covers what are return values. A return value is the output that a function produces after it has finished executing. When you call a function, it may perform some operations and then send a value back to the part of the program that called it. This is done using the return statement. Understanding return values is essential for creating functions that can process data and yield results that can be used elsewhere in your code. Now, defining a function with a return value. To define a function that returns a value, you will use the def keyword followed by the function name, parentheses, and a colon. Inside the function, you will perform operations and use the return statement to send a value back. Here is a simple example. This sample defines a function. Review the implementation on the slide. In the example above, the add_numbers function takes two parameters, a and b, adds them together, and returns the result. You can use this function in your code as follows. See the example on this slide. Pause if you want to study the details. This section covers using return values in programs. Return values can be utilized in various ways within your program. They can be stored in variables, used in expressions, or passed as arguments to other functions. Here's an example that demonstrates using a return value in a conditional statement. This sample defines a function. Review the implementation on the slide. In this example, the function check_even returns true if the number is even and false otherwise. Based on the return value, we can take different actions in our program. Next, returning multiple values. Python functions can also return multiple values as a tuple. This is useful when you need to return more than one piece of information. Here's how you can do it. This sample defines a function. Review the implementation on the slide. When you call this function, you can capture both return values like this. The samples on screen walk through this step. Take a moment to read through them. In this lesson, we learned about return values in functions. We discussed how to define functions that return single or multiple values using the return statement. We also explored practical examples of using return values in conditional statements and variable assignments. Understanding how to return values effectively will enhance your ability to write modular and efficient Python programs. Alright, your turn. Give this a try. First, create a function called multiply_numbers that takes two numbers as parameters and returns their product. Also, write a function named find_max that takes three numbers and returns the maximum of the three. Also, develop a function convert_temperature that converts Celsius to Fahrenheit and returns both the Celsius and Fahrenheit values. Finally, implement a function describe_person that takes a person's name and age and returns a formatted string describing the person.